Well, if you're old enough to remember the movie Airplane, it looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue. Well, today's update is going to be about how do we get through the crisis, just like the air traffic controller did in an airplane when he quit sniffing glue and he quit drinking and he quit smoking, all in the same night of the ill-fated flight from Los Angeles to Chicago. Really, how we do it's a multi-pronged strategy. Number one, I think it's important to put yourself out there and communicate with your clients. Obviously, we try to be proactive, but let's talk about incoming calls. So we will get back with everybody the same day that they call to answer their questions because it's their money and obviously they have concerns. We also, on the incoming calls, try to direct them to a pre-set up conference call. For example, we're doing one tonight where what we'll do is go through approved material, read through it just to help give clients guidance and maybe assuage some of their fears of what's going on. What we like to do on outbound calls is obviously we start with the top of the book and go through those clients that are our best clients, but also go ahead and proactively reach out to the clients that we know are probably the most likely to be rattled by this type of volatility and this kind of, what I would call off the map navigation of the world markets. In those calls, it's important to do a few things. Number one, reassure them that we are on top of this. Number two, to keep them thinking long term. And number three, try to look through the current situation as much as possible and say, okay, how is the world really going to be different on the other side of this? That strategy seems to work best for us, and that's what we recommend with clients. I think number one, what do you say about how does the world look different? What we say is really all we know right now is more than likely interest rates will be lower than where they were in January. Oil prices will be lower than where they were in January. How's that going to affect you? Number two, we don't know how many more people will get the coronavirus, but it probably stands a chance that more people will get it before they stop getting it. So be prepared for that. And number three, circle them back to the advice and the financial plans that you've done for them in the past to let them know that in all those different Monte Carlo simulations, there are times like this, that although the numbers are bigger, the percentages are about the same as different crises in the past, such as the financial crisis in '08, dot-com, the Asian financial crisis in the late 90s, the '87 bust. You can go on and on and on. I think it's important to note, too, when explaining to them the situation that we're in, especially with interest rates, to let them know rates really have never been this low, and we've been through a civil war, 2 world wars, a Great Depression, etc. And they can, in their own mind, realize that this isn't one of those events. So proactive communication, team with your reactive communication. That's number one. As I stated, we want to drive people to the teleconferences that we have. Typically, I've been doing them once a week since this has started. It's very easy. Stephanie sends out a blast email to the entire client group. Let them know Drew's going to give a speech. It may be 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. I just read through the pre-approved material. Occasionally, I'll open it up for questions. Generally, most people don't have questions, but I do know we get a pretty good field at those, and it usually fills up a conference call line, so I know we're probably over 40 people every time we do that, and we get emails that people weren't able to get on or they missed it and they want to know what we said. Really, as I stated, it's stuff that's kind of what I would say is our stump speech during the day with this on what to focus on. So that's a second key component. Try to drive as many clients as possible to one event as opposed to having to keep answering the questions over and over and over on the telephone. I think number three, and this is the most important, how do you make hay out of this event? Ask for referrals. Ask people, do they have other friends that may not work with us that are concerned because they're not getting communicated by their advisor? I got an unsolicited referral yesterday from a wealthy family here in town. They're friends with some clients of mine. The person at their firm, I think, is hiding under the desk or getting their teeth whitened, if you know who they are. But generally speaking, what you want to do is put yourself out there and ask the question, who's not getting this type of service? And People, they talk about money, they don't talk about specifics, but if they're concerned and they haven't been communicated with, it is the time to really ask for those referrals and then reach out pretty quickly to make sure you can get in contact with those people. The fourth thing is a little bit, if say the Lord's looking at you and smiling when this happens. If you've wanted to get into a group of clients and have not been able to, and just finally kind of cracked the seal on that, go overboard for that group, because they will talk you up more and more and more than you think. If you've been wanting to break into a niche market or a workplace financial planning area, now is the time to call that field leader, the boss of that company, arrange a time to get in front of his or her employees, because if they have a certain type of stock, certain type of situation, they're going to want to hear from somebody, and that local leader could be a hero by putting you, a great financial advisor, in front of their clients to help them from making bad decisions. So I'll wrap this up. I think the other way you succeed in this is really help people from making bad decisions. As an advisor, when you look back and look reflectively on your book of business, it's also a good idea to find out how many of these calls you're getting with people are truly panicked. The longer tenured advisors, you probably should have fewer and fewer of those as you kind of weed out those type of clients from your book. And it's always a good feeling to know people that, say, 5 years ago would have been on the ledge are now sending you checks. So this is a really good time to be reflective of your book and see where you are. With that, as always, I'm available. Shoot me an email at my D2 email address. I think it's dwatson@dynamicdirections-d2.com, otherwise known as the longest email handle on earth. But shoot me questions. I think some of you did after the last webinar I did, and that's totally fine. But focus on communication, be proactive, have the same message, drive clients to the same event. Use this as an opportunity to ask for referrals from individual clients. Use this for an opportunity to get into the niche markets you've been waiting to get into. Because, guys, look, this is pretty much a full-scale panic. And I'm sure every individual investor out there does have questions. So use it to your advantage, stay proactive, and build your calendar around those opportunities. Thank you.